3, 2, 1.
Did you enjoy that?
I did, yes.
Kind of defeat the purpose
Yes.
because we were already live.
We were already live,
And
yeah.
basically, you were counting while we were live. And yet worked it perfectly into my plan. Welcome back to another podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This is producer and co-host Tim Wolf. I am Seth Ohms, and welcome to No Sugar, No Cream. Ladies and gentlemen, it is episode 101. And since we didn't make a cake last week,
check.
We are celebrating this week. And it's episode 101. It's I made this. I made that myself. I mean, I use a box. I didn't make it from scratch, but I made it. And it looks terrible, but it doesn't look horrible. What's the difference there? But I can't tell what it. I have icing on there that says no sugar, no cream 101, but you can't see it because it's ice. But it's a cake, and we're celebrating episode 101. And talking about Tim had a trip over the weekend, and all kinds of shenanigans going on. So if you're in the chat, feel free to throw out a happy 101. We didn't have a cake for 100, but we thought about it.
We thought about it. It's a thought that counts.
Like we said last podcast, we think.
Unplugged.
We think a lot about what we could do, and then we save the production money and don't do it. Of course, this worked out really well because this is a box of cake that I'd had in the pantry for like 6 months or so. But then I just needed Frosty. So it worked out real well, except you can't
mix,
see
not
the cake mix.
Cake mix.
The cake was just sitting in the pantry already made. So we will not be eating it.
Hold it up so people can see.
You can't
just
really
hold it up a little bit.
If you see the glistening there, you can see that
it says no sugar, no cream, 101.
101.
101.
Because this is episode 101. And
give it up for Chef Seth.
Yeah. Woo! There's a process to it, and this is 2 cakes put on top of each other, icing between them, covered in icing, and it takes a lot more time than I would want to do. So I appreciate this. We're gonna use this for the next 10 weeks, and I'm gonna just rewrite 101, 102, 103. When Seth puts more than 30 minutes into something, he wants to be recognized for it. Whereas Tim does most of the work on this podcast, and I don't worship his feet enough. So thank you, Tim, for all the work you do. I appreciate you.
Appreciate you.
You're fantastic, and he's really gotten good at all this computer stuff, along with his being such a good artist. He's good at being able to. The process of putting yourself out there in social media and all that, and utilizing the social medias, he is an honorary millennial.
Oh, thank you.
You're better than most millennials.
So
he's not like some people when he sees technology, and he jumps out.
So confession.
Here it comes.
So when you listen back to this, the first minute or so, the wrong mic was on.
Oh, I didn't do my job. I forgot to tell you. Was that the issue?
No. The mic was on, but it was the computer mic.
But you can blame that on me, though.
No, I can't. How?
Remember, because I'm supposed to always remind you to have it go through the.
So it goes through the Scarlet, and by doing my auditing. So this is a reason why we do the auditing. Using the headphones.
Yes, I'm so glad
because I was able to say that doesn't sound like it's going through the mics as you were talking. And I quickly checked it and switched it over. So there is a reason why I'm not fully engaged in the first minute or so. And there's an example right there. I should have said it properly. Okay, you could say he should have said it properly before they started. True. True. Get you that.
But we don't have to pay Bob anymore.
We don't have to pay Bob.
No,
Yeah.
I really
Bob
appreciate
was
it's little things like that because, like, I mean, you've consistently done that the last 20 plus episodes, and that's very important. It's annoying to have to do, but it's very important.
Yeah, that's why I'm
Just
not
like
fully engaged,
Dutch.
and I caught it. And if you watch back from the beginning, Seth's voice is kind of distant. Mine's not as much because the mic is right here, and
Some
so
would say
I'm
not
kind of
distant
talking
enough.
into it. But so anyway, yeah, I'm excited. This is the Dalmatian episode.
We forgot our Dalmatian app, but we thought about it.
We thought about it. We thought about it.
Spend the money. We save money on production. So we'll tell you that we were going to literally wear Dalmatian outfits.
101 Dalmatians for those of you missing the reference. So, yeah, and 101. I mean, it still boggles my mind. We're in triple digits, baby.
Triple digits, yeah. Officially, the second episode, triple digits. Feeling good. Great weekend. Got to watch some football, but wasn't into it because it's just a preseason games. Nothing exciting. Nothing too exciting. I was like, goodness, the summer NBA league was more exciting than the preseason.
Okay, I clicked on the messages. Kathy Lloyd said, "Hey, hi, you guys! Congratulations on episode 101."
Woo! Yes, thank you,
Kathy.
Kathy, you're number one on our list.
Glad to have you on here. And so she's on her comment is on the screen for a minute. And thank you, Kathy. Appreciate you.
We'll save a piece for you, Kathy.
Piece of cake, yeah.
You know what? Shoot us your address and we'll ship you a piece.
So getting better. I mean, when we started, I didn't have the computer. It's only been 20 episodes, so we've been using the computer so I could actually see the comments and respond. And not maybe on real time. I mean, Kathy probably left that message a minute or so ago, but at least I see the messages while we're on the podcast, and that's an improvement. Continuing to improve it, and I think if you notice, talk about this is 100 podcasts. The camera is so much better. I started using my Sony professional camera, figured out how to tie it into the computer, and so it's so much more high resolution, and just getting better. Episode by episode, step by step.
We and done something that nobody. There's not a podcast out there. There's got to be a few that do it, but it'd be interesting if you look back. But I hope we do this for years and years to come. And
yes, sir.
And we've got to be one of the only, if possibly the only, or one of the originals of doing it live. Like, I mean, yeah, Kill Tony's podcast is like, oh, it's live. Well, it's live in front of the audience. They don't put up the episode until a few weeks later.
Really?
We are live.
We're laying it all out there
right away. And we have been like that since day one.
Yeah, we have, and we will continue. I think we will continue to do that. So what we need to do is start doing like callers can, other than just commenting, can call in or find a way.
They'll work at first number. Until we're too big, and then people will just say crazy crap. You got to vet.
You have to vet people. Yeah, true. True that.
We'll see as we grow. We'll see.
You have to maybe apply first if you want to call in. Well, before you let you in.
So as always, if you're on Facebook, especially, that's probably the main people see us live, and then on YouTube. Where else are we live? Instagram. We're live on there. I don't know. I feel like I don't usually look things live on Instagram that much, but definitely YouTube and.
Well,
YouTube is probably one of the biggest ones, but Facebook is our biggest
comments
audience.
On Instagram.
Because Tim has a good size wall.
I'll have to switch over to the Instagram, but sometimes we get comments. People
you have
on Instagram. I have.
Our biggest audience by far is Facebook, so thank you. Shout out to Facebook people. So feel free to share the podcast. That gets it out to more people because we're kind of we're limited because we're just going out basically. I think mostly to your followers. I think you get recommended to people. If you're not if you aren't following them, but it especially helps us if you would share the podcast because then it goes on your timeline, and then all your people will see it, and that gets us out to more people, and we appreciate that. And then we're trying to do clips more often. we got to say something funny to have something clippable or just something interesting
And
too.
we're
Is
using
always good.
we're using AI. AI, and you can use the clip service and it listens to the entire podcast or watches it or whatever term would be, reviews it, and picks the
Yeah.
top clips that it thinks would get the most interest, and it gives it a virality score, viral virality score, and tells us what would probably be the most interesting. And sometimes I don't know that I always agree with what they choose, but we go with it because it actually creates the clip right there in the app. And
We agree because that's AI and they
it's
control
AI. They
everything.
control
And
everything. Yeah, so we have to.
we want to see on the good side. We appreciate you, AI.
Please remember us, AI, when
We
you do
submit
have
to
complete control.
the mother of all computer databases, whatever. We will continue building data. What are they?
Data centers.
Data centers.
So you can continue to take control.
Please take all of our water that you desired and energy. We are indebted to you. Scroll. Clip it.
Yeah. Well, a sad announcement that Seth, I didn't even know this, but Seth saw it as we were getting ready. Just ran across it. An icon, a music icon, Frank Beard, died. That was a shocker to me. Now, all the classic rockers, they're dying off eventually, but have passed. And ZZ Top, of course, Frank Beard, and they hit it big in the '80s MTV era. And the joke was there are three in the band, and the only one who didn't have a beard was named Beard, and that was Frank. And
passed away yesterday.
Oh, yesterday.
But it didn't get announced till today, it looks like. I mean, at least on TMZ. TMZ the first place.
Yeah, and what an amazing. Now, Dusty was a bass player. He passed like a year or so ago. Time goes on, so my date lines might be a little bit off, but within recent memory. Hey, Kathy. Yes. She says, haha. I think she was referring to your joke about sending her the cake. Yeah. Anyway, Frank Beard, phenomenal drummer. I mean, if you're a musician or you love ZZ Top, and I was talking about this with my drummer who plays down on Broadway. Well, the drummer who played with me, I can't say he's my drummer because he plays with many people, but Chandler, and we drove all the way up to Madison, had a gig, and drove back, and that's 8 hours of driving. And so you're conversating the entire time, and we were talking about music a lot of the times because we're all musicians. And they played down on Broadway. If you've been to Nashville, Broadway is a lot of cover bands, mainly cover bands, and requests come in, and that's where you make the money. They're making most of the money from tips. So if somebody makes a request, they will try to play that. And I said, how many songs do you have on your iPad? He said about 2,000. And that's a lot of songs. And I asked him, do you sometimes get LaGrange from ZZ Top? And it's probably one of their more iconic songs. It's about a whorehouse, actually, if you really want to know. But it's got a beat that is just so incredible. And I've rarely heard a band cover that. I've never heard a cover band play that it sounds close to the original recording. I just got to be honest. And it's not the guitar player, the drummer, it's the drummer. I've analyzed this. My buddy Jimmy has really told me. And the shuffle, the Texas shuffle that Frank Beard put on that, very few drummers. And I asked Chandler, and he said it's impossible. And Chandler's a college degree jazz performance graduate drummer, and I don't know. I don't want to say that he said it was impossible, but he says he does simplify it when he tries to play it because that shuffle. I asked my buddy Jimmy, what did Frank play? Why is it so difficult? And he said he's playing the shuffle beat on the hi-hat, which is common, and he's doubling it. Yeah. You know it.
Yeah,
you know it, that beat. And he's also doubling it on the snare at the same time. And apparently, I'm not a drummer, so I don't know, but apparently that is essentially impossible to play. Most drummers don't do that. Now, that's a very specialized beat. That's a shuffle. That's a Texas shuffle. In most songs, if you're not in blues or blues rock, you're not playing that kind of beat. So it's a very specific kind of beat. That doesn't mean he's a better drummer than Neil Peart, for example, from Rush, who many considers one of the better drummers, or that in rock, or Led Zeppelin drummer. Can't think of his name at the moment. Phenomenal drummer.
This is a podcast, is PG. So Tim did say, if you were wondering, it was about a hoarder house.
Ah, they got a nice girl there.
Hoarder
Kathy,
house.
yes, Kathy, you know the song. And Kathy
and it's
says,
about a hoarder house.
Yeah.
Correction. Yeah. Just a PG
well, remember
podcast.
us when AI is in complete control. Kathy's commenting. Thank you for you got a lot of nice girls. Anyway, maybe I shouldn't have said that word.
Oh no, I'm just playing around. I'm just playing. No, you're fine. You're fine.
Anyway, but the beat that Frank played on that song, and the guitar part is straight. Billy is playing it straight. That's not the difficult part. The difficult part to make it sound like that is the shuffle that Frank Beard played. And of course, he played on many other songs. I mean, that wasn't the only song he played on, obviously. But that particular beat is one that is just absolutely amazing. Well, I would say blues rock.
Blues rock.
Blues, but then they got away from that, and then got more toward the rock side, not pure blues. But early on, they were much more bluesy, and they weren't that well known. Although they had a tour, I think in the 70s, a 2-year tour, and they sold out stadiums. So they had very serious fans, but it wasn't until the early 80s they came out with Eliminator, and they completely changed up their sound, and they used synthesizers and even some drum machines. And MTV had just come on, and they were perfect for MTV. And they had Sharp Dressed Man. There are 3 big hits from that album: Sharp Dressed Man and Legs. She knows how to use them. And there's another one. There were 3 songs off that album that were singles that just blew up, and they had videos for them. And, Frank was the one without the beard, and the other 2 guys had beards down to their navel. And it just blew up on MTV, and they became a whole new level of recognition. And that certainly was not blues. That was more electronic pop with a blues flavor, maybe. I mean, I don't know how you would categorize it, but they've continued to travel. I mean, there's 3 guys in the band, and Billy Gibbons is one of the greatest guitar players, and did most of the writing of the original songs and most of the singing, and but Frank laid it down. And I remember reading some articles about it. When they would record, Frank was maybe one of the best musicians in the band. I mean, there's an argument for that that I heard, that he would get impatient because the other 2 guys would be working out their parts in the studio, and he would say, "Just tell me when you got all your parts down, and I'll come and lay my part down." I did hear that quote, because he got impatient because it did take him long to lay down these very complex parts. And that's no shame on Billy Gibbons. I mean, Billy Gibbons, phenomenal guitar player, no doubt about it. But Frank Beard was an amazing drummer, and sad that he's gone.
They probably got a good little pop and popularity too from Duck Dynasty. Duck Dynasty used their Sharp Dressed song.
Sharp Dressed Man? Oh,
for their intro for all their
that was from the Eliminator album. That was from the.
So you hear that every time for the intro of their show.
Yeah, they've been.
And that was like 6 seasons.
And how old? He was 77. You said.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think they were close to the same age. So Billy's probably getting into his 70s now. I mean, so many iconic songs. Difficult to play on guitar.
And he didn't usually have a beard, right?
Who?
The drum.
Frank. Oh, yes. What I've been saying. The only one who didn't have a beard was named Beard.
You're such a good listener.
Yeah, I see that. Sarcasm.
You've seen this for a long time, Tim.
The other 2 guys had beards down to their navels, Dusty and Billy, and Frank had no beard. So, but he was named Beard. So, just amazing band. and they continued to tour even after Dusty died, the bass player. And Dusty was ill, and he knew he was gonna pass, and he picked his replacement. It was the long-term bass tech who traveled along with him. I can't remember his name, but he immediately stepped in with Dusty's blessings before he passed. Dusty said, "My tech, the guy who took care of all my bass instruments, should be the guy who takes my place." And I've seen
Wow.
videos of, they were always really about spectacle. I remember they had these fur-coated guitars that would, this is the MTV era, and they had some kind of a swivel thing on the back, and they would hold that, and they would rotate the guitar and the bass, Frank's playing the drums, but they would literally rotate them. They would go in a complete circle just for a spectacle, and, they had beautiful women with, classic cars, like antique cars that were souped up, on the cover of the Eliminator, and because Billy was really into cars, and Billy was really the leader of the band. There's no, in my opinion, no doubt. He was a driver. He did most of the singing, most of the writing, but 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 the musicianship was unparalleled at all three levels, all three of them. So,
A little bit of their origin or all, like how they met each other?
um, I want to say that I know that Dusty brought in Frank. Let's see. I've read this and I was kind of forgotten it. They're from Texas, right? They're from and they Billy was in another band, the Moving Sidewalks or 13th Floor. Not the Moving Sidewalks. Let's look it up.
Okay.
Let's look it up.
Well, football got started, just preseason. This is first game. It's in a couple weeks. Got a little bit of time till the first. Just a pre.
I got it backwards.
But
I was gonna say I knew that one of them brought in the other. I thought it was Dusty brought in Frank, but it was the reverse. So Billy Gibbons formed ZZ Top in Houston, Texas in 1969. Gibbons first teamed up with the drummer Frank Beard after meeting a mutual music connection. When their original bass player left, Frank suggested his longtime friend, Dusty Hill, with whom he had previously played in the band American Blues. Uh, the Moving Sidewalks, I thought that was the name. Uh, Gibbons had been playing in a psychedelic rock band called the Moving Sidewalks when he met drummer Frank Beard. After that, the band ended. Gibbons and Beard teamed up in Houston to form a new blues-driven project, and then they added Dusty Hill. They played together for the first time as this definitive trio in 1970. Then,
wow, a nice run.
and then they continued, and I remember they did this 2-year tour. By the mid-70s, ZZ Top had become renowned in North America for their live act, including the worldwide Texas tour, which 1976 to 77. And they had animals in there. I mean, it was just quite a spectacle, over-the-top stuff. I remember reading about it. It was a 2-year tour. They took time off. 2 years. And they didn't even see each other. But Billy didn't see Dusty. And when they came back after 2 years, just coincidentally, both of them had just been growing their beard for those 2 years. Both Billy and Dusty had beards that were down, like, to their navels. Coincidentally.
That's
Unplanned.
hilarious.
And neither of them, if you look at pictures before that, they might have had little facial hair, but not big beards. So they just coincidentally just let their beard grow for those 2 years, and they got back together and like, "Oh, you got a beard. I got a beard too." But Frank did not.
And that became such an iconic look for them.
He became the iconic look for them, yeah.
It's amazing.
And then they began to experiment with the synthesizers and drum machines, and they established a more mainstream sound with Eliminator. And then in '83, and then Afterburner in '85, and that just took them to a whole new level, with the integrated influence from new wave, punk, and dance rock. Okay, the 3 songs. "Give Me All Your Lovin'," that's one I could. "Give me all your lovin', all your hugs and kisses too." That was one of the hits. "Sharp Dressed Man," and "Legs." Those are the 3. I knew there were 3, I couldn't think of the 3rd one. "Give Me All Your Lovin'," and gave them mass exposure on MTV and 80s pop culture. The Afterburner tour set records for the highest attended and highest grossing in I saw them on the Eliminator tour. I saw them in Philadelphia with my girlfriend at the time. I remember we, we were arguing most of the time. I couldn't enjoy the gig because we were arguing.
Oh, women.
Women, yes.
Hear that, Kathy?
Leave me alone. No.
Stop antagonizing us.
No,
Kathy.
no. He doesn't mean it, Kathy. He doesn't mean
it. You're the best woman in our life right now.
Yes,
you
yes, you are, Kathy. Yes.
You're fantastic. I'm just joking. It's so crazy how MTV, I mean, something that's basically gone, which I was hearing that it was going off the air, which I think they're just basically playing all reruns. They're not playing anything new anymore. It's crazy.
Yeah, how society has changed. I'm reading a book.
Of course, yeah, you can everything. Watch as many music videos as you want. You can listen to full albums on YouTube.
The world has changed. I'm reading a book called Hitmen. If any of you are interested in music and the music industry history, it is a fascinating read.
Oh, yeah, I was crazy about it. Yeah, I think you had that sitting on the table down there.
Yeah, I probably took it out of my bag. I've been reading it, and such interesting history and well written and details.
What's the give me the movie trailer, as I would say.
Okay, so it was written and published in 1991. So it's the history of the recorded music industry from when it started, maybe in the 40s, 50s, all the way up to 91. Not a really long time. I mean, when did vinyl records become a thing? Singles, probably the 40s. It became common. 40s, 50s. And then albums came out, long play. That's why they're called LPs, long play, because they were bigger and they could play longer. And they went at a slower speed, 33 RPM versus 78. Obviously, if you're going at 78 RPM, you need more space to cover the same length of song. So they started with single 78 or 78s, and then albums came along, technology boosted, and probably the glory time of the recorded music industry was the 80s, in the early 90s. And the book covers primarily, and it's called Hitman, and it's a euphemism for two meanings: making hits, music hits, but also the undeniable connection of the music industry to the Mafia. So Hitman in this usage has two meanings. Not that anybody yet got killed, but the Mafia was the evidence is undeniable. Everybody denies it and says, they did, and payola was a thing. Payola was if you pay money to get, because back then, in order to have a hit, you had to have it played on the radio. In order to get it played on the radio, they would pay the disc jockeys to play the song. And in the 50s, there was a big.
So you know what the real Mafia itself was part of?
Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. I feel like Mafia is still a big part of today. They just
oh no, the Mafia got broken. No,
really?
Mafia, they got massively broken by in the 90s with they used the RICO Act, and the Mafia is a shadow of themselves.
Made a gigantic day, like in Vegas, especially. Like that was a big spot for Mafia.
Yeah, and anything to do. I mean, we were watching in the Irish. We were watching that show about the Irish. And what show was that? And weren't you watching it with me? That has who's the guy that did not My Tempo? The actor, he has two initials for his first name.
Oh yeah,
Not My Tempo.
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Little trouble there. He won an Academy Award for that, and now he does all the Allstate commercial. Is it Allstate? State Farm commercial. Is it State Farm? Or Allstate?
The farmers.
Saving my farmers.
As I said, farmers. It sounds like I'm just saying what you said.
Anyway, he's got a show now where he plays a Irish mob boss, and it's centered around the Javits Center, which was built in the late 70s, early 80s, and all that was built. That probably cost the public maybe 3 times what it should have because there was so much skimming of money. That's undeniable. I think that's proven history. Mafia was involved, the Irish Mafia, and it happened to be being built in the Irish territory, so they were able to get in on it, but they were much smaller than the Italians. If I disappear in the next week, because I'm talking about this, you'll know why.
Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely still exists, but I'm probably very small.
It's broken. It was broken.
Yeah, and then you're not gonna hear about it like you used to because they'd have to be like super underground, to extent. But of course, I don't know. I'm just.
But I mean, okay, and let me take it back. I mean, maybe I should not say that so proudly. I mean, the traditional things is, but for example, trafficking of young women and girls is at an all-time high. That is crazy high. So I guess a lot of that is you can't say mafia is an Italian word, so maybe you can't say it ways, but organized crime in that regard, just through there's more slaves in the world than ever. And most of them are sex slaves. Anyway, man, this is a downer episode. You're gonna have to name this episode Downer when you do the summary. Anyway, so the book talks about the beginnings of the recording music industry, and there were these independent promoters with dubious, and they were independent, so the record labels could say they didn't have anything to do with it. But in the 80s, the record labels had a budget of $10 to $40 million a year to pay to these independent promoters to get radio play on the radio, because these independent promoters had sway. And the reason they had sway is because they would take the money they were paid to promote the record, and they would just pay off the disc jockey. And today, radio doesn't care. Radio is not required to have a number one hit. 85% of the revenue from music in the American market comes from streaming, Spotify and Apple Music and YouTube Music and Pandora, etc., Amazon Music. So physical copies is a minority of what it was. But back then, if you wanted to listen to an album in the 1980s, you had to buy it. Cassette, vinyl, and then CDs came on for a while. And so in order to get, and then you would break it on the radio, and then people would hear it on the radio, and then they'd want to go buy the album. And so the 80s were a heyday, and CBS Records was the biggest record company in the country and in the world. And CBS had, and probably the peak of the peak was when Thriller came out. I think it sold 80 million records. And Walter Yetkunoff was the president of CBS Records at the time. And he nurtured, and there are many other artists. It's talking about the history of all these great artists. His book is talking about this and how. And when the Grammys happened, Thriller won, I think, 7 or 8 Grammys. And so Michael Jackson is going up there to receive the Grammy and going up and going up. And then finally, for one of them, he says, "Walter, come up here." And he had Walter come up and say, "This is the reason we're successful." Michael was very gracious. And so the president, and the guy was a character. He was quite a character. I mean, you read the book, and he had his problems, and he had his benefits, and he did some things based on pride, like the biggest competitor. There were only 2 big ones at the time. There were 6 major labels, and now there's only 3. There were 6, and it was Warner and CBS, and they would, just out of spite, outbid to get, like, Paul Simon left from one and went to the other, and then they would outbid to get the other one and try to, because Walter didn't like the leading guy at Warner, his name was Mo, I forgot his last name, and they would just bid way too high that they'd never recoup the money, just take them away from their competitor. It was a little personal. It was childish in a way. It's fascinating read. And the guy goes into great detail about what kind of they looked like, what they liked to dress, what their habits were. It's like you're watching a movie about all these characters that come alive. And I remember some of the names are familiar, like Clive Davis, who just died recently. He was formerly with CBS until he got fired. And then he went out on his own and started Arista. And his biggest claim to fame, he discovered Whitney Houston and signed her and made her into as big as she was. So you hear the backstory of all of these things. And if great read if you want to read it, Hitman, amazing book, amazing book. I did three. ZZ Top was not has not been covered in the book, but anyway, the book, the first chapter opens up with 1980. The record company was in a recession. The sales were down. Well, 1980, we had inflation. Okay, date myself. I'm not 20. I know you'd think I am, but I'm not actually 20. So I graduated college in 1980. When I graduated college, we were engineering degrees. We thought really great salaries. My fraternity brother went out and bought a brand new Cadillac, and I remember the thing that I remember about it, the interest rate that he signed on that loan to buy that Cadillac was 21. That's how high inflation was in 1980. So we're not there now. I mean, we talk about inflation, but so 1980 was tough, and they were in a recession, and so Dick, who was second in command, and he was more of an accountant type person. Dick Asher was his name. This is the first chapter of the book, and he sees on the bottom line of CBS, the biggest record company, their cost is this independent record promotion. Why are we spending $40 million a year on independent record promotion? I don't think we need that. And he thought, I've got the perfect example of a band that we have signed who it was Pink Floyd, and their album, Another Brick in the Road, Another Brick, no, not Another Brick, Another Brick in the Wall, had just come out, and they were not about singles. They didn't even release singles. It's a unique band, all about the album. If you know Pink Floyd, they're album bands. And so he thought this is a perfect example. They're starting their first tour in the U.S., and they only toured like 5 places because they needed back then for the 1980 tour. They had so much stuff. Now it's normal. I mean, how many semis does Taylor Swift need to go from venue to venue? Probably like 20 semis. She brings so much stuff. But back then it was not normal. They had a bunch of semis. They would literally build a wall in front of the band made out of styrofoam, of course, but the crew would come out and build the wall step by step until it was 2 stories high, and then at the grand finale, they would break that down. It made a wall out of bricks made out of styrofoam, but that was it was a huge stage thing, and so they only did 5 shows on that tour because it was too expensive to go too far, and they were starting in LA, and LA was very important, and they had, like, 4 major radio stations that they had to get, and it was the Another Brick in the Wall Part 2, which was the one they wanted to break, and he said, "These guys are so popular, and I'm not even going to pay the independent promoters for this. And they're going to play the single because Pink Floyd is opening in LA, and we're not going to have to pay the promoters. They're going to play it anyway." Well, guess what? The promoters told all the DJs, "Don't play it," and it didn't get played, and showed who had the power. The independent promoters had the power, not the record company, and it was Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd with the biggest album of the era, and
It's a long trailer.
So
It's a good trailer, though. It's good.
Okay, I can see you're getting impatient. You're getting impatient. Too long of an explanation, but it's just riveting. It's just riveting. It's just riveting. The book and this history. I mean, I lived through some of that, and then talk about the record industry. I'm a musician. I'm an artist. I just released my album "Raised in South Dakota" that charted on the Billboard charts. In case you didn't know. The record industry, and then so what came? I'm up to about 1985, peak. Thriller just came out, sold 80 million copies. CBS is making more money than they've ever made in their history, but it was downhill from there. The '90s came, and CDs were introduced, and CDs were a lot more expensive than vinyl back then, which blows my mind. CDs, you could get vinyl. The article that I read, or the page that I read, you could get vinyl for like $3. but the CDs cost 4 times as much, and there was only one company that had it, a French company, Polymore, that had the technology. Oh, it's Philips. Philips from, they invented the CD. Philips, which I think is a Dutch company. They had all the technology to make CDs, and everybody had to have their CDs made by them or licensed, so it was expensive. And
Wow.
that came on, and then something happened in the late '90s. So you're digitizing a CD is digital, right? So it can be a digital file. Before that, it was analog. Vinyl, tapes, that's all analog. That's a major change. You're going from analog to digital. So once you convert it to digital, guess what? You can download it from the internet. You can share files on
Napster.
it. Yes, Napster came, and Napster was illegal from the right, but because they didn't pay for it, and nobody paid for CDs. They didn't have to because you could download it for free from Napster, and all of the recording industry collapsed. I mean, their sales were cut way, way down, like half, a third. Just the recording industry just is like the entire recording industry is going to be decimated, and we're all going out of business. Radical change. And whether you like them or not, there's one thing that came along that basically saved recorded music industry, and that
Apple.
was no? Well, then
It was
okay,
part of
you had
that.
Apple. Okay, you had that. Yes. Yeah, yeah, and, with the iPad, Apple.
Well,
That's
he
iPad.
made a deal with
iPod,
the
iPod,
he made a
iPod.
deal with the music where they were selling the individual
True,
songs.
true, true, but that helped, but still the odds were really bad for the record industry, but then something else came along around 2008, 10, a Swedish company called
Uh,
Spotify.
Spot. Oh, oh, so that technically helps them, even though I thought that
Yeah.
was a big hit. Because I thought that would tank even the Apple sales on the those sales.
No, I'm talking about the record companies.
Oh,
Now 90%, 85 to 90% of the recorded music industry revenue comes from streaming.
right.
People don't buy downloads. Maybe for a period of time there, they were buying downloads, maybe with the iPod, but then came streaming, and you don't even have to download it. You can just have the app on your phone.
Right, right.
And now 90% of all the revenue is from streaming. And it's not just Spotify, it's Apple Music streaming, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, Pandora, and so on and so on and so on. And now record labels they're finally year on year, their sales are going up. A lot of them bought into Spotify. They get preferred payouts from Spotify. An independent artist, I get paid less per stream than a professional record label. If you're an artist on a professional label, but that doesn't really help you as an artist because the label takes that and then gives you a portion of it. So the labels really got behind Spotify, and they bought into Spotify. I guess a lot of them have sold their shares, but they get a preferred ranking. All of the playlists, they put the labels on the label artists on there first, and so labels are doing quite well. They finally getting back to the levels they were like 1980. But the dollar's worth a lot less now. But the recording music industry gross sales are healthy again. There was a period of time where everybody thought all the record companies were gonna go under because of Napster, but, it's doing fairly well again, pretty well.
Nothing though like having a CD in your hand, especially signed. You
Yeah,
sign most of your CDs,
I
right?
sign all of them. Sign all of them.
Having something in your hand, and I always love that,
Yes.
pulling that out and looking at the lyrics and everything and the pictures. Yeah.
Hey, this is my most recent CD. Liner notes, and even has a picture. I even have a picture. You can't see it from there, but there's a
Questionable
picture.
Photographer, but
Oh, I heard he's pretty up and coming.
Oh,
Up and coming.
well, I was gonna mention earlier before we sped on I'll put my my cross put the crosshairs of the sniper on with the Mafia on me too. Chat GPT says um, the remaining activity operations American Mafia remains actively operational, but has significantly shifted its method from overt street violence to white collar, tech heavy, illicit businesses. So more of that white crime stuff is being more strategic and going underground, which is, I mean, that is where a lot of booming is going on, is in that, the tech, and everybody's getting their grandma called and taking money from them.
Yeah, but I think most of I don't think that. I mean, I don't know in detail. I don't know all the details. But based on articles that I've read, I think that's offshore. That's Eastern Europe or Eastern Asia, Southeast Asia stuff. I saw a deep dive article about a compound that was on a river. It's kind of like surrounded by a river almost. Where the bend in the river is a very unique geographic area. So this compound was basically protected on three sides by the river, and it was a compound, and it was at the corner of one obscure corner of Southeast Asia countries, and out of Cambodia, or I don't remember which countries exactly, but it was kind of out of nobody really knew where it was. It was kind of in the very remote area, and they would advertise for Asians to get a job, a ID job, and they'd show up, and they would kidnap them and take them to this compound, and they would be forced to be online trying to scam mainly Americans, probably also Europeans, I don't know, but Americans for romance scams. What all kinds of scams are there? I mean, it's gone a long ways from a really poorly written email.
So now they'll copy someone's voice or your family or something.
And scam you, call you, all kinds of things. Your computer's infested. Let me sell you malware.
Yeah, they broke it down a little bit. Talk about that sounds right. But the Mafia is more into the sports gambling.
Okay,
high stakes illegal poker, $1 million sports gambling. They'll do stuff like use advanced technology to rig X-ray poker tables, hidden cameras, and to cheat wealthy people that way. Interesting. They continue to systematically control local labor unions.
Local meaning New York City?
It just says it didn't say location exactly. Healthcare fraud.
Okay, sprawling. Here we go. AI overview of sprawling industrial scale compounds in Southeast Asia, notably in Cambodia, Myanmar. I never know how to pronounce that country. Also known as Burma, used to be known as Burma, Laos, and the Philippines, force hundreds of thousands, not just a few, force hundreds of thousands of trafficked people, including tech and IT workers, to execute online financial scams under the threat of extreme violence. Victims are lured by fake high-paying jobs. That's what I was telling you. Fake high-paying jobs.
Yeah,
stripped of their passports and imprisoned in guarded facilities.
Yeah.
Okay, this is at the Golden Triangle Special Economic Zone in Laos. Isolated Chinese-operated enclave zones along the Mekong River. I remember it was along the river. It must be the Mekong River. Workers face up to 19-hour workdays running pig butchering, crypto scams, fake investment platforms, and romance fraud. Those who fail to meet financial quotas or attempt to escape experience physical torture, isolation, or resale to other criminal syndicates. Computers are monitored closely by criminal bosses, and physical movement is completely restricted inside gated, guarded parks.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I've watched a number of videos on YouTube where and there's these guys that get really popular for doing YouTube videos where they scam the scammers, but I haven't seen them get into these and the ones you're talking about. So that's a way to pursue more because I mean, on top of all of it, there's people being trafficked. That's scary. That's horrible. And I think it
Trafficking is
seems
not
like
all
most
right.
of the people
Not all right.
they are people in like the city, ones that they've shut down facilities and stuff like that. But I mean, they're just super good at hacking, and uh, and sometimes the people will know who they are too because there's have millions of views off them scamming the scammers and like hacking their cameras and stuff like that, and knowing their names and like saying things to them and getting in their head and literally cause some of these people to cry right on camera. It's crazy how good they are, but they'll be able to, just shut it down, put viruses into the computers and shut it all down. But there's thousands of these places. It's crazy. Um, yeah, the key there is like yeah, you still steal some money from people, but the trafficking is what scares me, and there's probably a lot of sexual abuse going on there too. I mean, that's the main thing you think of. But then for the forced labor too, that's horrible. Thousands of people that happen to you said
Said hundreds of thousands
hundreds of
is what
thousands.
the summary said.
That's crazy. That's crazy. And then you pay off the right police or whatever, and you probably get away with it pretty easily. In those areas. But
Look up Scam Center in Wikipedia. Scam Center, Fraud Factory, Fraud Park, Scam Factory, Scam Compound, Scam Hub, Scam Park, Fraud Center, Fraud Compound, or Fraud Hub is a collection of large fraudulent organizations usually involved in human trafficking operations, generally found in Southeast Asia, usually operated by criminal gangs.
steal over 100 billion annually.
Scam center operators lure foreign nationals to scam hubs, where they are forced into modern slavery to scam internet users around the world.
Yeah, I wasn't even familiar with that. You mentioned that up in the podcast before, and that was the first time that I'd ever heard of the whole. I was very familiar with the whole scamming and all that, when these people made money doing it, but they're, I mean, being trafficked to it, and they're basically running a place with a bunch of slaves. That's yeah. This is. I would just really hope that the people that are able to, can start hacking these guys and taking down these and freeing these people. I'll definitely be doing some. Curious if I mean definitely has become a big enough issue where they got to be on top of that. Somebody
Well,
hire.
some of them are Taiwanese, I guess. So, I was in LA over the weekend, going to some Grammy-related events.
Right, really bad.
And, of course, I had to Uber around, and most of the drivers were of Asian descent. You can tell from their face and their name. And I get in one, and the guy and a lot of them don't speak their English is not very good because you don't really need to speak great English to drive Uber. And I remember I got in one, and he was obviously of Chinese ethnicity. And because I used to live in Asia, I used to live in Japan, and I can, to some extent, determine the facial differences between, say, Japanese and Korean. Not completely, but I do a pretty good job. They are different races, and you can tell the difference. And Chinese is a different facial appearance. You get into Southeast Asia, it's a little murky for me, but I was pretty sure this guy was Chinese descent. And I asked him where he was from. I said, "Are you from" because I assumed it's hard for, Chinese nationals, the mainland China, to get into the US. I guess what I was thinking, get a visa and whatnot. And I said, Are you Chinese? Are you from Taiwan?" And he bristled. He said, "There is no Taiwan. I'm from China." Because mainland China thinks it doesn't recognize Taiwan. Taiwan, they
He
want
doesn't
to
sound like one of the good Chinese.
He's been
Ice! Ice!
he's been living in the US for 18 years, he said.
And he still doesn't think Taiwan. That drives me crazy when people are like embrace everything about us, but let's still. At heart, I'm still a communist. They don't deserve to be free. Here I am enjoying America. Yay, yay. But no, they should not be free. In my heart, they are enslaved to us. We control them.
That was pretty far from a Chinese accent, but okay, good job.
I wasn't trying to do it. I'm not trying to get canceled here, Tim. We're shooting for episode 200. I don't want to die.
Don't want to die. Don't want to die. Somebody needs you. Kathy says somebody needs to rescue them. 100%. I mean, but it's fraught with peril because the governments are probably colluding with these things. These are not high income countries. Laos, Cambodia, Myanmar. The average income there is probably not very high, and so the government is probably not that well. It's a complex situation, I would say. So, and then there's a lot of gangs involved.
The Mafia of the East.
Mafia of the East, yeah. So.
And Tim's going to end this podcast to lift us up with one funny joke. Tim? Roses are red, violets are blue. Don't open that. It will go poo-poo. I don't know. I just thought in my head. Guys, we appreciate you. And that's the worst joke of the day. Thank you. Guys, hope you enjoyed looking at our cake. We'll probably
hold it up again. Hold it up again.
No sugar, no cream. Episode 101, the Dalmatian episode. So watch the Dalmatians movie tonight and think of us. It's a classic. It's a classic.
Kathy says Walker Texas Ranger types should kick in the door and save them all. Walker. Agreed, but they would have to have they would have to be authorized by the local government, and that's probably the biggest thing.
First thing I thought was taken a particular set of skills. I will find you. I will kill you. On that note, thanks for enjoying the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bad guys, we're coming for you.
Yes. What?
I said bad guys, we're coming
bad
for
guys. I thought you said, guys, we're coming for you.
Bad guys, we're coming for you. We're going to find you. Yes. Guys, appreciate you enjoying the podcast with us, the cake and all that. And feel free to share the podcast if you're on Facebook or Spotify. Watch us wherever you watch us. Thank you. Give us 5 stars. Follow us on our Instagram,
please.
Or on YouTube. And feel free to write a little comment there. We appreciate that. And we will see you guys next week, episode 102. 102. We did take a break the week before last. That was let losers catch up. Okay, guys.